Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Ebony Championship Wrestling, the podcast where the square circle comes alive and we deep dive everything WWE from a diverse perspective. Jump in the ring with us tonight as we discuss the return of the great one. Griff dives in and gives us his first Griff's picks. Excited about that. And with the emergence of so many factions, how could we not discuss factions tonight? This is Ebony Championship Wrestling, the podcast, and I am the Jackie Miles, and I'd be dumb to try and do this alone. So I'm calling on my big bros, Montay, a.k.a. Coach Montay, Griff, a.k.a. Griff Nation, and behind the scenes, as always, our wise man, B. Dix. Boys, what a week it has been. Coach, I know this is a wrestling podcast, but I have to ask you this very, very, very quickly. How about them Cowboys?
How about them? We are riding the sky high, but I'm a wise Cowboy fan, unlike some of my other compadres out here. So to not, let's kind of pump brakes here and let's take it 1 week at a time. But the vibe is nice down here. 2-0. Looking for some more.
Downfall already? Are you seeing it already?
No. Dak's just getting. I'm excited. New offense. McCarthy's doing his thing, but like I said, I'm wise enough to know season don't begin until postseason. But we are excited though to be off to the good start for sure.
Well, I hope y'all figure it out, man. I'm rooting for y'all. Griff, what's going on, my boy? How's the week going?
Week was good, man. Real busy. A lot of unexpected challenges. As we talk about football. You see the Lions went down with a overtime loss on this week, which was, not a surprise. It was kind of an expectation that they were going to be NFC champions and going into the Super Bowl, but we ain't got the season started. So, anything about football is going to take week 6, 7, 8, 9 before we see what's really clicking. But right now.
Did you buy a ski mask? Did you buy a ski mask?
Not yet. In fact, I'll be in the D tomorrow, so I'm gonna try to get one.
You are. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna get one. Yes, sir.
Okay. You sent the text out, bro. I don't know if anybody was actually watching at the time, but you sent the text out. The Rock has returned, man. I was like, whoa, what's going on? And I immediately had to turn it on because I was not trying to watch SmackDown that night. But man, what sent you in that direction, man? And what was your response?
I'll be honest with you. I wasn't even at home to watch it. It just happened to come through my phone, and I happened to first time I looked on Instagram. I seen Austin Theory and The Rock in the ring. I'm like, whoa, wait. Talk about rewind. Wait. Hold on, is this a pre-show? This is a dream match? This is 2K? Somebody just posted? What's going on then? And I text y'all because I figured you guys was watching it. Then I thought about nobody said nothing, so they must not be watching it. But yeah, I definitely, tried to get home or when I got situated, see what happened, watch that whole segment. But it didn't hit because speaking of text, you shot the text earlier, Jackie, about the Rock and Pat McAfee show, and it didn't hit and sync. Oh, they in Boulder, Colorado, SmackDown in Denver. Nobody never caught that, man. So big week for WWE, big week for Colorado football as well, too. Shout out to Dion in primetime, too, this weekend with another key dub, man, doing big things, man. But, yeah, that Rock surprise really caught me definitely off guard. And y'all know I'm kind of the one that's kind of like the speculation, the spoiler dude. But, yeah, I didn't see this one coming. And, we talked about spoilers before. This was one spoiler that was never on my radar.
From my understanding, they didn't know themselves until like 3 o'clock that afternoon. Coach, go ahead.
Everything was totally, impromptu. Everything was, that day. I'm shocked I didn't hear from the creative guru Griff himself. I mean, I'm in the bed recovering from a stomach flu that my baby and I had over the weekend, and now I'm getting it to. The notifications blowed up myself, and then and then Griff like 2 minutes later. So just as surprised as all everybody in the chat in the group here. So, but it made sense. The weekend was Dion is bringing in numbers, man. Shout out to that football team, but everything came together organically. But that is what the WWE universe needed, and obviously I'm excited to kind of dig into the detail of what we why and what we think. So I'm excited for this show. for sure.
Yeah, man, what a wild weekend for Colorado. Obviously, all of the spectacle that is now. Obviously, we're rooting for him, and the entire situation just because of Dion, man. Like we're proud of that situation. But yeah, man, on to the wrestling. What a segment that actually was, right? Like Austin Theory actually stood up, I thought, into what The Rock was saying. Griff, what you think?
100%. I believe Austin Theory held his own and did a phenomenal job. And like we discussed before, we was almost writing him off or just kind of frustrated, like what direction is creative and Austin Theory going from here? You know what I'm saying? Especially how he lost the belt and been off TV and things like that. Now it makes me think that this probably could have been some type of plan all along. But at the same time, man, I was just very happy for Austin because when you kick off a show like that and you got Pat McAfee, who's a big time guy on ESPN, you have the returning Rock, a legend, a Mount Rushmore icon, one of the greatest of all time to ever step face of WWE, to open up that show and be trusted, selected to open up a segment with The Rock and stand on his own, didn't look nervous, didn't look like he was camera shy. Even he got The Rock with his own, it doesn't matter. That's what really got me. I said, okay, ain't too many people get The Rock like that besides Chris Jericho back in the day. But I said, man, he did a phenomenal job in that ring with The Rock, man, and was put over very well, man. I'm proud of Austin for that, and kudos to him to be in that segment with The Rock.
Yeah, he's been groomed, for that ever since what his interactions with, at Mania last year. You knew Vince had some stuff for him, some things up his sleeve. That Theory, Austin Theory, eventually that he was gonna, after that match at Mania, for him to have two moments within this calendar year of the greats. That says a lot about him. That says a lot about his character. That says a lot, what they're gonna do with him. Because obviously that interaction, and the sky's the limit, man. There is no, there's no limit for this guy. I'm excited to see, not just his in-ring work is still improving. He's strong. Like I say, he's got the look, but yeah, to hold his own in there with The Rock, and to be real, it was a great, funny segment, and nobody got buried. That's at the end of the day. Nobody got buried.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Jackie, what you think? Realistically, obviously we had a couple. We had some time to think about it and reflect on why. Why do you think that they probably did that, Jackie, in your mind? We had some time.
I think it was just opportunity. Like I think the stars aligned, right? Like you said, the Colorado thing. They were in Boulder. And I think WWE's in Denver, right? So I think the stars just aligned for them to do it. But then also, to your point, it speaks to Austin Theory and what they're expecting of him and what they want to do with him. I think one I'm most excited about for Theory is actually him flipping. I think he's a better face, and I don't know if you guys remember him with Johnny Gargano and The Way down in NXT. I loved them down there, and I thought he was hilarious as a face. So I look forward to seeing him doing that. What you think, Griff?
Yeah, and I never thought about it just that, and now it took me back to memory name. Now I'm remembering that. Yeah, absolutely. He was quite a worker as a face, and how we talked about before. There's certain superstars that are just completely heel, completely face, and some of them can flip it on and off. I think he has a lot more work to do as a heel. I mean, he's not bad as a heel, but like you said too, as a face, and when he's paired with the right person, he's definitely a star in his own. So he kind of remind me of Randy Orton and John Cena when they started young. How they try to find their way as a heel, then they were face, and then they went back to a heel, back and forth, zigzagging. They were trying to find their niche until when they found that niche, we all seen John Cena was more the better face. Also, he can do the heel work, but Orton can do the face work, but he was really better at the heel, in my opinion. And with that, I think just find that identity for Theory right now. He's still young, he's still up and coming, and back to the legends. WrestleMania, he had a square off with Stone Cold, then you had a square off with The Rock, and then you had a match with John Cena and opened up night one. I mean, that's impeccable. Someone that young like that. So I think it's just. My motive, my advice to him was just basically, man, just soak all this stuff in like a sponge, man, because you being trusted with some of the big three legends, and you working a match with John Cena, who's a big time Hollywood star, and Rock and a Hollywood star as well on that segment. WWE got some type of trust and some kind of vision there for him. So I just hope he maintain it and find identity and character, whether it's face or heel.
Yeah, you guys just educated me. I really forgot about his face run there. So for the versatility is there. Still got some, still like as Griff said, still some work to do on the tough man persona. I think sometimes he tries too hard to be tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, once he finds his comfort zone, his rhythm, and like I said, the in ring work is complimented because he's getting better. I mean, he's coming off of big matches. I mean, he's in there. I think Grayson Waller is the next guy that's getting rubs from from those legends. So you think about him getting in the ring with Edge. So Triple H he's got some broom with these young guns, man. So it's just I'm excited to see moving forward, but overall, man, tie a bow on a great segment. The pop was, I think he said it was his top 5 loudest pops, I believe, from what he was saying. So since he's been, because I think about it, we've heard him over the years when he's came back. I remember the very first time he came back, in 2011, that was the loudest to me, but that was up there with that one just about. But yeah, great memorable night. But yeah, other than that, SmackDown seems to be, both shows, obviously seem to be in a little holding pattern, getting ready for the card. So if anything stand out to you guys on Raw and, anything else? Yeah. What you guys, as far as Monday night?
Griff.
Well, Raw was, I don't want to say it was interesting, but it was kind of like, Raw was kind of one of them shows where like, it's like watching a 3-hour long movie and you have to really sit there and just watch and pay attention to what's going on because it was so much going on like in a split second, from Nakamura with Ricochet, then Seth Rollins, and then I think there was another match and Nia Jax came through the crowd and bullied through, ambushed everybody through that one. Then Dominic once again interrupting Cody, what I'm saying, and then Michael Cole, with the storytelling of like, what the heck is he doing out here now? So it was just some of those combustible elements, man. Then you got the Jay and KO, going back and forth, like trusting each other and this story, and Drew McIntyre and Jay joining the Judgment Day. I think Raw, it's just too much going on with Raw, so it's really kind of like hard to really sit here and say, hey, this was good, this was great. It's just one of them like, okay, this is an episode where I need to take some time to really bottle in on what's going on because so many directions that they're going. Where on SmackDown, it's kind of like 2-hour show. We got this match going on. You got this backstage segment. This is your main event. Have a good night.
You kind of don't have time to do much on SmackDown, right? Like you kind of, with all of the so many commercial breaks, right?
Right.
Like, you don't have time. But to speak to Raw, like I know I asked for like chaos earlier on this podcast, like once before. I asked for that like chaos, but I kind of want controlled chaos. It seems like we're just like doing stuff just for the sake of doing stuff. And also, Cody, what are we doing? Like it's the same thing every time. I'm gonna battle this guy. They're gonna jump me. 2 guys are gonna come out and help me. We're gonna end up in a 3-way. This is gonna take us to Survivor Series. My God, I just want to get through Survivor Series now at this point because it's the same thing. Coach, you speak for Cody a lot on this show. Help me out.
You're not wrong, which is why. Okay, to our point last night in our meeting, he had a match, and obviously we'll get to this power rankings here shortly. But it was a far cry. I've been just as disappointed as you have. I've told you guys I expressed those sentiments last week. How disappointed I have been with American Nightmare, but the fortunate part is that he did a little quick work of Dom, obviously because he had Mello the next night, but still, but it is the same old song, Dog and Pony Show.
But it's Dom again, right? Like, give me somebody new. There's so many people in that roster. Give me somebody new. Griff, right. I'm sure you could name a ton of people he could be feuding with right now, right? Like, Like,
Yeah.
Well, to your point, Jackie, I thought, and I said this last week's show, I thought it was going to be main. I thought it was going to main event. Jey Uso was going to be the first.
you called for it.
We were here for it. I was thinking that, okay, Cody, you haven't been in a legit. Guys, I'm gonna bounce this off you. When's the last legit feud he's been in? Cody.
Roman. No, I'm sorry, Brock.
After Roman. Okay, Brock. That was
Brock.
it. So SummerSlam. What was that? That's knocking on almost 2 months, and he's still looking for work. So sad situation. We'll dive into it more in the power rankings. But I think the biggest thing that came out of two big things happened. Obviously on Friday night, The Rock coming back, and then kind of you seeing Jimmy coming to his own. But more important, we'll get into him in the power ranking. But I think when Jey obviously said no, he finally made a decision. The only disappointment with Jey is that he's not doing much promo work. So what do you think? Obviously, about that, Griff. What's Jey? I know you are a Jey guy. You post stuff in our chat, but yeah, come on. Are you still on the Jey train, or are you falling off?
I'm actually on the Jey train.
Still on the train.
And I won't stay on the train. Here's the reason why I won't stay on that train, because I don't know who these Raw story writers and these writers are. And it seems like they got a lot of stuff going on, and you got Jey mixed up in like 3 different scenarios. You got him mixed up, actually 4, if you really want to think about it. You got him and Sami Zayn, 1. Him and KO, 2. Him and Cody, 3. And him and Judgment Day, 4. Not let alone, we ain't speaking about Drew McIntyre, who just pinned Jey. In my opinion, Jey should have got the win Monday if that was me, because if you're going to call this guy main event Jey and you're going to push him, then why not have Judgment Day flip it around? Instead of having Judgment Day, get super kicked, how about you had Judgment Day distract Drew McIntyre, then Jey comes out super cooked to the win, and then at the match ends, then let Jey make the decision, I'm not joining, then get beat up by Judgment Day, then have Drew come out and help Jey, and before the show go off, instead of them shaking hands, Drew just look at him and walk away in the show. But they reversed that. Now to me, I feel like you're burying Jey, because you giving him to come out here and do all this with the crowd. Yeah, that's great. Then, you got that whole theme song. Great. You know what I'm saying? You calling him main event Jey Uso. So if you calling me main event Griff, then I'm coming out there not only getting the crowd rocking, but I'm winning every main event. I don't care if I got to go get a chair, put you through a table, and get disqualified. I'm going to show out in the main event. And it seemed like the only main event Jey is doing right now is, hey, the last match, I got the crowd hyped. That's it. Love my bro, but I don't know. The story writers got to do something different. And I always said there's a different story writing from Raw than it is on SmackDown.
I think it's clear that they're setting up the War Game situation, like the Judgment Day, JD McDonough versus Cody, KO, Sammy, and Jey. Like, it's clear that they're setting that up. And then from somewhere from there, like, somebody's going to turn, right? Like, it's clear that that's getting ready to happen. But it's just like we're not getting anything in the midst of it, right? Like, help us, like, tell us a story to get to that point. It's a better story than what we're getting. Like, can we trust Jey? Like, that's WWE, like, over and over again, right? Like, I don't know. Like, y'all are the storyline gurus. Like, I feel like we've been doing this song and dance over and over again, Coach.
Well, can you trust Jey actually is a valid question, because if they finally, what I did appreciate in that match when they showed a little mini, I'm not sure if y'all seen the mini video package of him before him and Drew got into their match. I even reminisce, like, yes, the bloodline did ruin a lot of them cats' careers, man. A lot of them title opportunities and chances and hopes. By them not trusting Jey is valid, just based on the nature of what the bloodline has done to to these guys in the locker room over the years. These last few years they've been raising that bit hell, costing title opportunity after opportunity. So this kind of approach is actually cool on the Raw side. They just and I agree with you. They just have to keep it moving, keep something fresh, especially for our boy. And that's kind of where it could get kind of stale. But yes. Drew, that Drew is also more to kind of set up a slow heel turn for Drew. If you guys noticed that he didn't come back to help. So that's the other So yeah, I agree with you, Jackie. Give us more, give us more nuggets. Give us more stuff each week to stay invested. But I think right now the Raw is playing a long game as far as you got to pay attention to the smaller detail. I think Jay is gonna that'll shake out. But I'm really here for this Drew McIntyre heel turn. I think
you're an advocate for the heel turn of Drew, and I think it's definitely warranted because Michael Cole and then mentioned this on Raw. As soon as the pandemic ended and Roman was back,
yep.
he was gone. Drew, like they threw Drew out, right? Like so, it's definitely warranted, like him to turn around and like want to fight this fight. But I just found it fascinating that he did carry the entire pandemic and he worked his ass off that entire pandemic, and then as soon as that was over, he was out of the title picture. Like other than he did the thing with Randy Orton for a little bit, right? But it wasn't much after that, man, and he has a right to like want to fight at this point. Griff?
It's about time for Drew to go heel and something fresh, something new. I think Drew was to me was a great heel work, and it took me back to the WrestleMania we were at MetLife when he fought Roman Reigns and went in as a heel. I think that heel Drew was more dominant. He was very more vicious, more aggressive, and that's what's kind of missing. And and I'm gonna we want to have that to come back, all because then that would give him a new rivalry, a new taste. Put a new, fresh start, new character on him as well too. His face. I think we've seen in the last 3.5 years. He had his title run, like you said, carried the pandemic. It kind of sucked because that was his year to run the ship for a while and be trusted to beat Brock. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we didn't have crowds then at the moment, but still holding that on. But it's time for Drew to go heel, especially with the back and forth and different rivalry stuff too. And one of the rivals, excuse me, stories and rivals they were looking to write him in with was going to be with Seth Rollins. I don't know what happened, how that got scrapped out, but when he was made his return, he was supposed to return as a heel somehow and start a feud with Seth Rollins, but I guess they went a different direction and had him return against Gunther. And then now we see Nakamura with Seth. But yeah, I'm definitely all aboard 1,000% for a Drew heel turn, and let's see what happens and see him get back in the fold and back to a heel.
We talked about Drew carrying the pandemic, and then Roman came back. But now we've seen obviously a shift in how that title is represented on a week-to-week basis. And Griff, you asked this question last night in a production meeting. Where's Roman? And I don't know that I have an answer for you. And I know we're kind of like sitting on our hands, like kind of wondering, like, is there going to be some like actual bloodline stuff, or are we like moving away from it? Like, what are our thoughts as far as like Roman goes these days, Coach?
The only thing I can I can equate it to is the injury is somewhat legit. That's the only thing I can see, because Roman with where the Jimmy angle right now, obviously with AJ tied in and Cena, obviously just for I don't know if they're going to do this for PLE Star Power. This is Cena's. I don't know why Cena's been hanging around SmackDown the last couple of weeks. I don't know. Still don't know. Writer strike for sure, yes, which is another reason why Rock probably came and hung out too. But bros need work for real. But yes,
you need that PTO.
We all need that. We all need that PTO for sure. But yeah, the only thing, guys, I can equate it to is just there's some legitimacy to that in that back, and everybody's in the, like I said, I guess it's been the theme since after the payback. Can we hold through, can we hold to Fastlane? And I think even with him, even with Roman, where can we write it in? I think Jimmy's doing a good job, but to answer your question, I don't know, but the back might seem legit. What you think, Griff?
Most definitely. It could be healing wounds. We, just remember too, Roman is the undisputed champion. He is the main guy and the face of the company. So every aspect to to get him the time off to heal, rethink things, or whatever you do, you don't want to put him in a position where um, he accidentally get hurt, saying he's gonna be out for a very long time, especially when they got big plans that we don't know about. Of course, we know WrestleMania is around the corner. A few months here, we still got Survivor Series and Royal Rumble. But one thing I'm noticing that's very interesting, and one thing I always take away that Roman always say is we're always doing something. I'm going to do something that ain't never been done before that's unprecedented. And so far we're seeing, even when Brock Lesnar was going through this, we always would see like Brock Lesnar is going to be at this show, going to be at this pay-per-view. With Roman now, it's kind of like he's off and not featuring none of the shows until last minute or spur of the moment or the week of. I mean, I can just remember the SmackDown that came here, the last two SmackDowns that came here. Detroit has been blessed to get Roman. He was never on the show to be featured, but then the week the week before, next week Roman returns to Detroit, and I'm like, oh heck yeah, we get a bonus. You know what I'm saying? So outside the injuries, I think this is a time too where Roman and everybody's taking a step back and giving this bloodline story a break. And they're going to catch us off guard with something, to have Roman next appearance be October 27th, and you advertising that like 8 weeks out. It's like, wait a minute, now I can see 2 weeks or next week, but October 27th, and that's the Friday, the week before I think Crown Jewel. So he's not. So he's not returning for a whole nother month. That was one of the reasons I proposed the question. Like, where is he? What's going on? But another thing too, I believe that's happening that's not really out there vocal. I think besides the injury, I know Roman signed a movie deal that he's supposed to be shooting sometime next year. So he could be in the mix of doing that as well too. That I don't know. I'm not Dave Meltzer or any other backstage ones. We just going off speculation. But hopefully, wherever, if he is injured, that he get a speedy recovery. He is missed around, but one of the questions I proposed, and I was asking yesterday, but then looking at what's going on now, if Roman was back and think about his bloodline segments and his segments alone, will we see a lot that we're seeing on Raw and SmackDown with these different cross storylines that's going on too? So I think it's just a break to the bloodline story. Let Solo do his thing, let Jimmy J do his thing. Then when Roman comes back, it's going to shift a whole different perspective of the storyline.
Two things really quickly. Number one, isn't this what we complained about with Brock Lesnar? Like, isn't this like we were saying, like, the part-time guy? And I understand, like, we're at a different level right now because of what Roman has done, but this is what we complained about. The champion is not on the show, not represented. I'm all bloodline, so I'm not saying that when he come back, I'm not going to root. But at the same time, like, come on back, bro. Like, if it's an injury, cool, I get it. Take your time, but then he's been part-timey, right? Like, that's the thing we complained about. And then the second thing is like, okay, he's off the show clearly. Now, like, what is everybody else doing? This is the time that Sheamus, like, complained about. Now, like, here we go, right? This is the time now you're supposed to be putting on the show. Y'all supposed to be doing the thing because we're no longer engrossed in that bloodline story. So now you got the time, like, and I gotta say, I was bored, both SmackDown and Raw.
I think I understand. I think this is a time where they gotta kind of lean on what they did back in the day. You guys remember when a big star was out, they still had some way of connection to the audience, whether they do a promo, some type of video, something to show, the crowd that what they're up to, or make some type of video to continue them in the storyline. The only thing that's tying them to Roman, tying Roman to what's going on, is just Paul Heyman and his phone. But I think, but I'm with you. Like, this is kind of knocking on what Brock was doing. Not, we here. Okay, I know we here. We in there. We here. But yeah, no, I agree. But I think they got to kind of lean on what worked. Let us know something. Do a promo. Do something. Something that's got to keep the fans, invested, even though we don't see your face. But I don't know. Yeah, Griff, you remember when they used to do that back in the day? Hey, where you at? Shoot a promo, something.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
and even with Brock, I think the difference even with Brock and Roman, um, Brock character was more of like the animalistic beast, and that's why he
Right.
got the name Beast Incarnate. So it's like his persona was I do where I want, I
Mhm.
can show up when I want, I can deal what I want to. Roman has a different, what I'm saying, like, hey, you're the GOAT, right? You're the best thing happen. You're the transitor. You're the needle mover, right? So with that, now I
Mhm.
understand. I don't know his contract and his deal and what's happening, but if we gonna call these things out, because some of this stuff sometimes can contradict, like Jackie was saying. Like, there's one point you was complaining about the part time, now we here. You know what I'm saying? So at
Right.
least show us
Mm-hmm.
something, or hey, cut a promo, or at least like have Paul Heyman put you on speakerphone so we can at least hear your voice and say, hey, Solo, or hey, Jimmy, like, what are you doing next week? When I come back, you better get this clean. Like, let us hear your voice. You know what I'm saying? Or at least post a
Yeah.
TikTok. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
being away in that, but on the other end, this is why I propose that question. It's so many variables to it. And then on the other end of it, you got the Sheamuses and the others that complain, like, yeah, we want this TV time, but Roman and Bloodline taking the segment. Okay, Roman is out. Here we go now. So now's the
Now's the
time.
time.
Now's
Now's the
the
time.
time.
Right? And the crazy part is now he's out, right? Like he's hurt, and now the time is available, and now he can't even use it. So I don't know, man. And obviously with Roman and his frequent or infrequent absences, he has started to slide on our power rankings a little bit. I don't know if we've moved him yet, but he's definitely in the process of sliding. Um, so let's go ahead and go in that direction, gentlemen, and update these. Uh, B, if you want to put those on the screen, appreciate you. And let's start from the bottom to the top, as Sammy used to say. Wow, sorry, I'm sorry. We might have to edit that out. Let's start with number 10. New to the power rankings is Jimmy Uso. Who wants to speak to that? I know I said like he's done a lot on the show,
Give it
but
to the
who
man
wants to speak to
clapping,
that
Mr.
one?
Montay.
Oh well. All right. Okay.
Sir.
Out of the Uso brothers, Jimmy, and this is verbatim from you, Jackie. Jimmy's making the most impact. This is from you, and obviously having a chance to really watch again what he's doing. He's pretty much the cutting the deals. He's got Paul Heyman thinking. He's got everybody thinking, and I think that's perfect for him as we trying to as we're trying to figure out as these twins go there, as Griff said last week, try to find their own identity, in their new journey on each of these shows. Jimmy right now obviously picked on AJ Styles, found a way to affect the match, found a way to get into a feud. Obviously John Cena, picking, finding a way to get back at John Cena for that attitude adjustment when he came back was a couple weeks ago, and Grace to set that up. But he's got us thinking that he's trying to join the bloodline. And as we talked about last night, what's his MO? What's his end game? But at the end of the day, he shows people he's beating up people at drop of a hat. He's showing people that, hey, I'm serious, I'm here. But right now you kind of don't know his next move. He's unpredictable, and I think that's a great way to kind of get him in and kind of follow Jimmy. Jay on the other end, obviously, a whole different story. Writers Griff say a whole different deal. But I like what Jimmy's doing on Friday nights to kind of get his singles journey going.
Absolutely, man. I'm interested to see what he does, and I'm gonna throw it right back to you because again, you gotta speak for Cody because Cody has moved up to number 9 or
Okay.
down to number 9
Okay.
or well, yeah,
So
he was
so
yeah
so
up to
viewers,
number
I'm
9.
give you a
Sorry,
disclaimer. Cody was on his way out. I believed it without a
this man was throwing
without
in
without
all
a
the rankings.
without a shadow of a doubt. No, but here's the deal. Had he not had a match, I'm gonna be real. Had he not had a match last night, had he not had some type of promo segment, some type of interaction, he's out of there. So, but right, so right now, so fortunately he stays in. He hangs in at 9 for this week. But as we said before we got rolling tonight, Cody's got to get going. We might have to have a separate topic on Cody, but yeah, we'll figure it out.
Sure. Something's gonna happen with Cody, man. We gotta. I don't know if this Survivor Series situation is it. I need something like legit for Cody. All right. Number 8 is La Knight. We're seeing an improvement from him as he beat The Miz. The Miz falls completely off of our radar now because he takes that L. Okay. Number 7 is Chad Gable holding tight. Not really much happening for Shorty G. He took the L the other night though, right? He took the L, so might see some some downtrending going on there. And at number 6, is that where I'm at? I'm sorry. Yeah, number 6 is Rhea Ripley. Who was seen on some other network somewhere else other than at her job. She was using that PTO, baby. Using that PTO. Griff,
that's all I was going to say about Rhea. Like, she got smashed by Nia. The following week, she was out with her buddy elsewhere on a parts unknown. We don't know where. So she's using that PTO. Well deserved. Do what you got to do. Congratulations on your engagement. Maybe working on some wedding plans. Who knows? But she was pretty much missing on Monday, and kudos to her. And the show must go on, but yeah, Rhea, you still on the list, but you had to drop doing down, baby.
Yep. Yeah. We got to get her doing more, right? I need some more interaction between her and Nia, and some more between her and Raquel. All right, we need a little bit more. Number 5, Shinsuke. Coach
Shinsuke doing Shinsuke things. He's and what's crazy is that Seth said it last night. He said, "You ain't a time to play." So it's everything. You're on Shin's time. It's everything. I think I said it a couple episodes ago. Finally, he's coming from a place of power. Obviously, he in there wrecking shop on Ricochet. Ricochet, he just in there wasting his time, pretty much getting reps. Ring reps. Throwing him around. You know what I'm saying? So that was just for him to get his ring work in. Ricochet and like I said, poor Ricochet. I actually like Ricochet, but they just using him as just
I want better.
They just use him. Ricochet. They're using him as a straight pawn in this. But other than that, man, Shinsuke doing Shinsuke things. I only see him getting stronger. Obviously, all roads lead in the fast lane. But when you can have Seth Rollins going out of his mind, then and we'll talk about that in the countdown. But yeah, he's doing his thing. Props to Shinsuke. Yep.
Number 4, Griff, Dominic Mysterio.
This guy right here, man, just man, Dom is just all over the place. Lord. He's fighting on the shows. He's interrupting promos. He's getting under people's skin. He's trying to manipulate them, play mind games. Those are little things I think everyone is underestimating with Dom. They's looking at him as like, yeah, you carrying the belt, you with Judgment Day, but let's look at the little things he's doing. He's playing mind games with Jay, defending that North American title, going to NXT after working the Raw show the Monday night. Of course, he had a quick match with Cody, but at the same time, he just all over the place right now. And then just to him to come out in the entrance and Michael Cole and Wade Barrett, following that story too. Like, what the heck? Here you go again, interrupting. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just took me back in the day when JR, I can't remember which one it was, but JR used to always get mad every time. I think Eric Bischoff, somebody used to always come on when that music hit. JR just would lose it, bro. And it just was funny that when dominant music hit, Michael Cole just said prior, like, hopefully Cody don't get interrupted. We can hear what he gonna say about Jey Uso. Dominant music hit, that dude just lost. I'm like, what the heck? He won't.
No, terrible.
But I love it, man.
I love that we got Dominic. Ahead of Rhea. Like, Rhea is clearly the hotter champion, but at the same time, in our eyes, Dominic's the hotter heel, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
Right.
Yeah, Coach, throwing it over to you. Number
As
3,
I was,
Seth
as I
Rollins.
was going to say, hey, my boy going crazy, losing his mind. That's when you know, hey, y'all boys been watching wrestling a long time. Anytime you got somebody going crazy, that means it's getting good. You know what I'm saying? So that means it's doing his job. That guy is he can act. I think he needs to start doing some movies too, because he can act. He can. I think I think there's a gift there for some acting. You know what I'm saying? So is he in something?
Right?
He's just not signed. Marvel, he did a Marvel with.
That's right.
Yeah. He's gonna be in the next Marvel something. Yeah,
that makes total sense
Marvel,
because his acting chops getting up, selling the back, selling everything, selling this feud, man. These guys are both to be and when y'all be honest, out of both shows, out of all three, this is kind of the best feud of the shows right now. Obviously, besides the tag team scene, I would think that the best singles feud are these two guys. They're basically carrying the weight right now. Two shows, So
I would agree.
Yep.
I would agree. They're putting on a story that keeps us intrigued. So we're looking forward to seeing more of that. Coming in at number 2, where's Waldo? Roman Reigns coming in at number 2, and I would say he's trending downward, and we got to see a little something out of our tribal chief soon, even if that's just a cameo. We'll take something. And sticking at number 1, man, we still believe in this guy, man. He's put in the work, and Gunther is remaining at number 1. And I don't think we see him trending down at any point right now, do we? Griff, what you think?
Gunther is going to be number 1. No, our tribal chief has had some time off, and he's trickling down slowly. But I don't see Gunther coming down that number 1 spot unless something very powerful, impactful from Dominic or Seth Rollins happens in the next upcoming days and on Raw. So if anybody going to take that number 1 spot, where I'm looking at this top 10 right now, is going to be between Seth and Dominic. And if Shinsuke stay on this road that he's on, he possibly can jump up to that number 1 spot real soon too. So Gunther, well-deserved break, needed that time off. Congrats to him again, longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. Maybe he needed to rest up the wounds too, breaking that streak. He deserved that time off and let his boys, it's just, and look, truth be told, there is a storytelling between the two of Kaiser and Vinci as well too, with them not being there. So not going to call them splitting, but it looked like it's going to be an interesting little story. Goes on too, because it seems like when Gunther's there, he has control and there's structure. But when he's not there, those two seem to don't be on the same page when he's not around.
I think that's what makes them interesting, right? Like that's the control that the ring general is supposed to have, right? Like I think that's what makes them interesting. When the cat's away, the mouse will play. They get out of sorts when the head is not where it's supposed to be. So I think they're intriguing enough to keep us involved with this, man. Keep going with the Imperium, and I believe that at some point, we were calling for them against the Bloodline, right? Like, we that's what we're looking for. We're looking for these interactions a little bit more. So, all right, let's go to the tag team division, and let's switch it up, man. Things have kind of shifted a little bit now. Caden, let me pronounce this right. Katana Chance and Caden Carter. Okay, there we go. Down to number 10. As we have not seen them, would like to see them. That's all. Number 9, the New Day, taking a step up as Kofi's healing his ankle, so now we're believing in him a little bit more. At number 8, the Brawling Brutes. We just need to see more from the tag team division. I don't know. You guys jump in here as you see fit, but we just need to see more from the tag teams, right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking of maybe TV time. I'm thinking when you think about 10, when you think about 10, 9, and 8 there, that's just, TV time, opportunities. Obviously, Xavier back and forth with the, what happened with the injuries. I just think once they get the footing, New Day. I'm actually I'm surprising myself talking positive about the New Day, but that's just what's going on right now. The luck of the draw, Brawling Brutes. Obviously, you got Pete Dunne. You got Pete Dunne on NXT doing his thing. So they deserve to be where they are. And then
So
7, Chelsea and Piper. Yep. Go ahead, Griff.
So my question is, for both of you guys, well, all of us here, like
Mm-hmm.
the Usos are no longer the champions, and we know they gave it to, KO and Sammy. Is it about this time? Because there's a nice list of tag teams here. Is it time that they need to put both belts back on both brands, or keep them undisputed, or what's your thoughts on that?
I saw something about them wanting to split them sometime soon. I also saw that WWE was trying to like restructure their tag title, or excuse me, their title division. Excuse me. So I saw that they were wanted to adding trios and different things. So I think they should split it, right? Like it adds more story to whatever's going on. I understand why we gave it to Jimmy and Jay and why we needed to build up that whole thing as far as like the bloodline. But now we're past that, right? Now we need to start building up again, and maybe that means splitting them amongst their
I think
brands.
there's this division. Yeah, this restructuring of divisions needs to happen. Obviously let the Judgment Day have their shine, have their day in the sun for a little bit longer, and then let's make the adjustment, make the move. I would say probably maybe going in the Rumble. But yeah. There's and when you look at this list here, I see 2 or 3 squads that can be tag champs with with ease, no doubt. So. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's keep going down the list. Going up to number 7 is Chelsea and Piper. They kind of took a beating the other night, but we still believe in them. That's gonna get better. Chelsea is carrying those titles by herself.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Like, she's carrying those by herself, especially just from her social media presence. I don't follow Piper as closely, but like Chelsea is like constantly on my feed, and she's carrying those titles. At number 6, KO and Sammy.
I think the Kevin Owens dynamic is, and this is why you still pay attention to the J drama, because eventually something's gonna they're gonna have to find a way to coexist, to, as you alluded to earlier, Jackie, toward the War Games. So you're gonna see Sammy on this campaign on, hey, this is my boy, let's figure it out, let's at least get us to Survivor Series, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, just kind of pay attention to that KO dynamic for sure. That's
KO and Sammy right now is we know something is going to happen with them real soon, and I'm still sticking with my gun that it's going to be Sammy this time going to turn on KO and heel, because we've seen KO always heel and turning, but we never saw it from Sammy's side. And I think Jay is going to be the main course of that. I don't know how they're going to write that, how it's going to happen. But it seems like it's a jealousy, that it's going to be some type of jealousy. And I think Sammy is going to have enough of it in this snap, just like how he did Roman at the Rumble. Is get over and tired of it, and then, okay, I'm done. And then we're going to see this new heel side, single side of Sammy come out of nowhere, where he is not going to he does not going to care no more. He's going to say what he say. And he can cut a promo like the best of it on that mic. So that's another person I'm waiting to go back, heel and turn this way. But I think it's going to be Sammy that's going to make that turn, and it's going to be Jay's fault that happened somewhere in there. I don't know, but
I hope that happens, man. One of my favorite times for Sammy. I don't like this KO and Sammy. One of my favorite times for Sammy was the conspiracy theories for Sammy. I was well entertained by that. When he handcuffed himself to the barricade and had the sign, my God, that got I popped every time I saw that. Coming in at number 5, the Street Profits. The Street Profits show a little bit more of an edge this past Friday, and finished the job, essentially, is what Bobby was pushing for. And I don't know if you guys want to.
I'm excited because it was I was waiting for it. I'm like, okay, let's just not win the match and just do our same old face shtick with the getting the crowd dancing and stuff. Bobby said no. They need to see the side that I need you to show. Finish the job. Yeah.
Was it enough?
What
was it enough?
No,
Like for us
Yeah.
to feel like they're heels, was it like did they?
No,
do
they need
enough
to do
feel
something
that way?
more impactful to somebody else that's really going to turn them. And I think they're still going to write that in. But this is just a warm up. They just tuning them up right now. You know, beating up on it, messing with the LWO. But yeah, they'll get their shot to do the true turn here. Hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Griff?
Street Profits. For them to go full blown heel in my eyes, they had to like interrupt a backstage segment and just like go straight destructive mode. Throw camera lights, throw TV monitors or something on somebody, leave them laying backstage, smash their head against the door. Like when you turn a heel, you got to do something that, okay, we're heels, but the crowd still love us. They still going with us because they still see us as the regular Street Profits, right? But we need to get them to the point where they saying, man, bump this, man. Like we can't stand y'all now, man. Y'all supposed to be cool, but y'all some a-holes. Like that's what we need. So I think it's coming, but it's going to take more than just the LWO. I mean, of course, yeah, you guys are feuding. We know that, but you know, maybe it's going to take like, okay, Bianca come out of nowhere and a surprise return, and then she just break the brakes out of Zelina, and then y'all just go AWOL. Y'all gonna feed off her energy and go AWOL. You know what I'm saying? So I just need some more destructive, more aggressive, more like a ruthless aggression type of attack to get this heel. Like, okay, you guys are here now. Now let's rock and roll.
Let me see if I can put it in perspective. The reason we didn't care about the attack is because we didn't care about the LWO. Like they need to attack somebody we care about in order for us to care that they attacked. Right? Like we don't care about the LWO right now, not because we don't care about the individual people, but you haven't put LWO on the screen enough for us to feel that way. They could have attacked Hit Row, and I would have felt the same way. Like attacking Hit Row doesn't matter to me right now because they haven't done anything. Who cares about them right now? Until you put them in front of me and tell me to care about them, I'm not going to care that they got attacked. Coming in,
and Griff said it. That's why when I have my hand up, I think the gasoline on the fire is Bianca. That's going to be the catalyst. I pray they do it right. I understand that, and Griff has told me time and time again that when on her face run that the Make-A-Wish or whatever WWE has her doing outside the ring, for the company image and all of that, if they want to continue to make dollars that way. But I do believe that I don't know if they're waiting on Bianca, and then there's a Jade Cargill, the Jade rumors out there. I don't know.
I was waiting for it.
So
I was waiting for
it. I'm that's just what I'm praying for right now. So I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Listen, hey, I was waiting for later to throw it in, but we here now. Listen, okay, it's evidence because there's a photo link that she was at the Performance Center working out training. Listen, y'all, I followed Jade, and Jade was one of the persons before. Like, I'm not going to WWE because they said this. I think somebody, and let's keep this in mind, you guys. Let's keep this in mind because she said that before. But remember, Mercedes and Naomi been in that ear hanging out with her at Atlanta Hawk games too. So they might have gave her a different perspective. Like, yo, listen, girl, bump what happened back then. Let me tell you what they're going to do for you. When that contract expires or you see it coming up, you better rethink some stuff, man. Can you imagine? You want that dream match with Charlotte? You want that dream match with Bianca that you said and Becky? When that contract, you better think about this. So I think the bigger piece and the X factors that played a part of helping, encouraging her to switch over to WWE was Sasha Banks, Mercedes, and Naomi.
That's wild that they would be the ones, especially given that neither of them are with WWE right now, right? Like they obviously understand, right? There's the wrestling business, there's AEW, and then there's WWE, right? Like that's let's be honest, like it's at a different level. And I'm like seeing a lot of AEW stuff, but you can tell AEW is an indie show. Like it is not WWE. It is 100% an indie show, and it's very apparent in the production. It's very apparent in the wrestling. It's very apparent in the promos. It's night and day. People could say they compete. I don't see it. WCW had a shot, right? WCW had a shot to compete back and forth because of storyline. It was sports entertainment too. AEW is not this. So for Jay to make this jump, you can tell like, okay, I'm starting to think about some futuristic things, and I see like over there is some real stuff happening. I need to jump over there, and I'm excited, man. People are calling for Bianca and her at WrestleMania. I don't want it. I want them together.
To put a bow on it, and then obviously you put the fuel in the fire of the chat, Griff. But to see if imagine if all 5 of them Judgment Line, Judgment Day, Bloodline, whatever, LC, whatever, everybody getting work. I don't care. Everybody getting work. Yeah, whatever, Judgment Line, whatever. You getting work.
Think about that, man. Like, think about having both of them. Like you already got Bobby as like your heavyweight guy. Then you got your tag team guys in the Street Profits. But then you got your women's division side. Like they can go at either title, both titles if they wanted to. They could go at the tag titles if they wanted to. They could dominate from that side of things. Obviously, we are super duper fantasy booking in this, and this is very, very probably not happening at all. This is a super duper fantasy booking,
and it's the Ebony Championship in this too, because you got to think.
Come on, let's go. Come on, black folks.
We'll be real with y'all. Y'all watching. Right.
But that's real, man. Like, again, we talked about this last week and the impact that we had. Like, when we see black people on our screens as wrestlers, as whatever, right? Like, we're rooting for Dion. Let's be honest, man. If Dion was white and he was talking this, like, we'd be like, oh, what is happening? Very similar to how white people are responding to Dion. Let's be honest, right? But when the impact that we have when we see like our people like succeeding in this way, man, it's huge. And we just see like putting them together has so much potential. And it probably will never happen, but it has so much potential. And if we were to fantasy book that one, dog, like that's easy. They're taking everything, right? Like we'll invent titles that they can win. Like we're gonna do everything, right? So
yes,
it's ridiculous.
But more to come on the discussion of Jay. But obviously, more to come on that discussion. Let's get back to the tag title power rankings because that's where we were. Coming in at number 4, we got the Viking Raiders. Again, like we're not. Are we seeing a lot of stuff that's happening on? Like the show, like am I just not paying attention when the Viking Raiders or some of these people are on the screen?
It's because they feel the same people every week. That's all.
Every week, it's the same thing over and over again, right? It's
right.
Number 3, Imperium, because again they were out and not much has happened. Number 2 is the Alpha Academy, as Chad took the L from Bronson Reed, but again, like we're not getting the tag team part of them, right? We're getting a lot of Chad Gable, not complaining whatsoever because Chad is amazing, not complaining, but we're not getting a lot of the tag team portion of them. So, everybody's kind of stagnant in the.
I still say Chad gets big when he dumps Otis and keeps Maxine, and then he'll do big things on a single run.
Ooh.
Sorry.
Oh, you got him kicking him out the group and taking his girl?
Both of them.
Jeez.
Either that or she'll float over there with Kaiser. It's gonna be one of the two.
I can see that.
I see that. Yeah. That's a possibility. And like, especially like think about that pull that Gunther would have to make that happen, right? Like Chad has taught her so much. But yet I'm the ring general, right? Like I come over here and like Could you imagine?
But that's the next step that I think you mentioned last week. But I think you did mention last. Yeah,
she's totally leaving for sure.
But there's you got that IC title. There's still more to tell with them too, and I think that would be something good, intriguing, and to kind of finish their feud, and maybe Gable goes over. I guess the title.
Shorty G gets all the hoes, Brian. Chill out. Shorty G gets all the hoes. Coming in at number 1 is the Judgment Day, and I'm impressed by Finn right now. Finn is entertaining right now. Finn is having a good time. When he heard that Grand Slam, Finn,
it's on now.
It's over.
Yeah.
I'm about to show my ass now.
Yeah.
For the first time in his career, he's having fun.
Yeah, you can see. Yeah, he's not pressing or anything, right? Like that shadow of the whole 7 years is off of him. You know, he's having a good time, and you know, good for him. Good for him. All right, man. Listen, this is what we came here for. This part of the conversation. I want to move us forward, gentlemen, because it's the first installment of what we've all been waiting for, I'm sure, and we're going to throw it over to Griff Nation because it is time, ladies and gentlemen. Clap it up. It is time.
Well,
for Griff's picks. Let's do it.
Man, hey, thank you for this moment and this first time segment. This is history right here at 12:07 a.m. on the Eastern Standard Time here. It was so many categories, so many things for Griff picks. And one of my things is we're going to do something a little bit different. That's not talked about a lot, but we're going to talk about interest themes. You know, what is Griff's top 5 interest themes? There's so many interest themes. You know, that's a whole nother conversation. We got more episodes. We can go to Attitude Era. We can go to Federation and Ruthless Aggression. But we're going to stick with current today. What are Griff's top 5 themes that's on the playlist and that gets Griff motivated and get his day going at times? So I got a couple honorable mentions, you know, because this was very tough. I got a couple honorable mentions I want to throw out here real quick. And my first honorable mention is my girl that I got a chance to see her cash in her Money in the Bank this past month ago at SummerSlam at Ford Field, Detroit. That's my girl, Io Sky. My other honorable mention, there's a new thing that just dropped about 48 hours ago. This was totally unexpected. It wasn't even on the list, but when I heard it, I said, ooh, burn the ships. And Jackie, I know you're going to love this one. And it wasn't even on here until I heard it over and over. And I'm like, this song is rocking. I'm talking about Baron Corbin.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's right.
Baron Corbin.
Baron Corbin is the music. He's going to the top. He's going to pin Roman clean at WrestleMania this year. Pin Roman clean at WrestleMania 40. I'm calling it right now.
No, you're good, sorry, man. But, you know, here are the top 5s. And this was very, very tough. And I based it on, you know, and I had more than 5. But I went with 5. And I went with some of the most underrated ones that I thought were very key, especially when that bass is rocking. You know, you working out or you driving down the highway and things. But one that's very underrated to me that I always loved was Sonya Deville's. Sonya Deville's was one. My next one is the Empress of Tomorrow. Her new theme. I don't know what it is, but I love it. It just goes hard. Like whoever that lady is singing it, how she's singing it, and getting Oscar in that mood. I mean, yeah, that's one of mine that I play often, man. So the Empress of Tomorrow, yes, it's Oscar. And damn, this was real tough because someone had to get left out, and I really like this one, and I'm showing a lot of women love on this one today. But it's just something about that gothic, that hit, that little direction. And y'all know where I'm going with this. Our world's women champion Rhea Ripley, with the foot crunch, and you know, it goes from that different. This is my brutality. This is like a more scary haunted house, more like I'm finna come out here and kill you type thing, man. But
wait, Brian, do y'all remember WrestleMania? Was it WrestleMania?
Which
one of the shows, she had the live singer singing "This Is My Brutality." Oh my God, I wanted to kill myself because this woman was screaming the entire. Thank you, Brian.
It was 37. It was.
I want to say it was.
That was 37. That was 37,
oh
right?
my God.
Yes.
The triple threat. Yeah, the triple Tampa. Mm-hmm. Wow.
That was her and Oscar in that main event. She beat Oscar. Cause I remember that was when they kept letting all that fire up on that ship.
Love. I'm a sucker for live music. Love the studio version of her song. Hate the live version. I'm sorry.
But this one here is way better than that one. We on 3. Oh man, this was tough, man. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and hit it, man. I'm gonna do this 3-way tie. This is a 3-way tie. It is right now. Yeah, it's actually it's a 4-way tie because Dominic, Roman, Big E.
Bro.
But if I had to pick one, for real, if I had to pick one,
Griff got stumped on his first episode of Griff Picks.
I got my first stuck, man. But I gotta go with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns definitely is number 2.
Okay.
All right.
And number 1, actually it's not a superstar theme, but it's just a theme, and that's the SmackDown new theme. This is my number 1. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. There's picks, ladies and gentlemen. Like, this is a list, man. Listen, I'm with Brian. I was not expecting Sonya to build with you, though. Definitely with you. Was not expecting Sonya. Also, like, every time I hear that Oscar, bro, I'm in a groove.
Yeah.
I'm in a groove. Every time, bro. Every time. What you think, Coach? Griff's picks.
Interesting. Like I said, show the ladies a lot of love, but everyone that you pick, bangers. But let's just, Roman obviously, guys, is the number 1 because if you can't get get ready and hype for a match after listening to that, especially the version, at 39, I think I felt Mania did this past Mania they did a good job of the live entrances and tying everything in. So this is definitely a great list, man. I look forward to the next one, man. Good start for sure.
Can I say some surprises I didn't? Yeah, thank you, Brian. Can I say some surprises I didn't? I expected Mello and Trick to be on this list. I'll be honest.
They were on there, but I narrowed it down. But I said,
I'm surprised one of your Uso boys ain't make it either.
What else? Well,
thank you.
That was my tiebreaker.
Okay, so what was the 4-way tie at number 2?
I think it was at 3 because you said Roman was 2. The 4-way tie was
actually it was 4. It was Big E, Dominic, Jay, and Roman.
Good Lord. You get task this man with a top 5 and he gives you a top 9. I love it, Griff. Griff's picks, ladies and gentlemen. I love it.
Oh man!
With all of the changes that are happening in WWE, obviously with people going into different spaces and needing new music, as you said, like Rhea joining the Judgment Day. Obviously, you got to have a different vibe to you. Let's move on to the next discussion, gentlemen. Let's talk about factions, man. I mentioned this very early on. I want to say it was like the preamble to our podcast. I don't think this episode made it onto the screen, but I mentioned that AEW at one point had so many factions and was doing like really good faction work, and then it like exploded and it was like so many people in the different factions. It's like you can't keep up. At the same time, WWE had no factions at all. And it was like, we could really use some groups over here, right? And I think we're starting to see a balance of both sides, honestly. We're starting to see that balance, especially on the WWE side, where we're starting to get some groups and you're starting to see some lines being drawn in the sand, not just for Survivor Series sake, right? Like, we're seeing some teams get put together just to be together. So I'm intrigued, guys. What are your thoughts on what's happening with our factions right now? Griff, start us off.
Yeah, we're going in that direction again. This is Triple H's thing, with factions. And we go back to NXT. We look at, the formulation of the Undisputed Era when they were down there in NXT.
Ooh.
And again, under Triple H's wing, and the Four Horsewomen. Although they were not a faction, but they were four women that could have been a faction, but just never could have written that way. With the Ronda and the Shaynas, that was another faction that could have formulated. In fact, it was a faction just about, except for Ronda just never went down to NXT, wherever they were. But they were looking at trying to get those four against the Four Horsewomen at one time, but just never worked out. But I think Triple H is more focused on factions. And remember, he was a member of he was a member of four factions himself. If you think about it, DX, the corporation, corporate ministry, and Evolution. So Triple H got factions all in his blood. So to see these factions come into play, I think he's just taking his time and being patient and making sure these factions fit in where they need to fit in the right storylines in the right time. Where AEW, they were just faction, and some of it was great. No knock to them, if some of it was great. But I think with WWE and Triple H behind it, I think he's more being patient with the factions and probably got other factions lined up. It's just he's not going to throw them into the fold until the time is right and the place and time is right for them to throw in there. So right now, you got Judgment Day that's really hot right now. It's kind of like you got to be careful. You had a Bloodline that was really hot till they split up. You don't want to throw just any other faction, just throw it in there. Just let it build and go from there.
Hey, I hate you guys. Stay out the chat, bro.
Back him, bro. Back him off the chat.
I hate you, bro. And the bad part is you're not wrong. Like, why is like you're not wrong?
No, and for those that's watching, y'all don't see what we see, but our producer in the back.
No, don't worry, Griff. They're gonna see it. They're gonna see it. Don't worry.
They definitely gonna see this.
Yeah, they're gonna see that part. Yeah, that part. Coach, what you think about the faction?
It's the best it's been. Writing, obviously under the ship of Triple H, obviously being a disciple of him. To Griff's point, there's a superstar that needs a group. There's a group that needs a superstar. I think when you think of the original design on what they are doing, it's old school. I love it. They're going back to the old school way. They're using these groups that you're not just throwing, shit to the wall and see what sticks. There's actually a reason. There's a concept. There's a purpose behind these guys getting together. These guys, these gals, these groups that are forming, and it's for a purpose. And they're playing the long game with all of them. That makes it more intriguing. So they're playing a long game with all of them. And they're designed to make memories. They're designed to build feuds that last, impact, and more importantly, Triple H's MO. We've talked about this since the beginning of this party. How can we send the kids home sad rather than happy? The opposite event. So I'm here for it, man. I love this. Hey, so we talk about what you think, man. And we get into our own deals of factions. What you think, Jackie? Where you see it going?
I think two things. Number one, factions build up guys who may not have gotten built up and on their own, right? Like I think back to the day, and obviously these members all kind of had their own thing at the time, but I think back to the Nation of Domination, and that's always my go-to, right? Between that and DX, you had a world title guy, you had tag team guys, and then you had like an IC European guy, right? But at the same time, it built up Mark Henry, who had just gotten in, who had just come off of the Olympic situation or whatever it may have been. And so he got his run and he got some teaching, he got some stuff going in that faction he may not have gotten on his own, right? Kurt Angle is the guy when it comes to this wrestling thing, and so therefore he was able to pick it up fairly quickly. We're seeing Gable Stevenson struggle. Right, like he can't even get out the gates because of whatever. So, but it's clear like Mark Henry may have struggled with that too. Who's to say? But I say all of that to say factions help build up some guys who no, he's not on the roster still. No, he's not. Factions build up guys who may not have gotten that build before, right? And then at the same time. Right, like we want all of these factions to interact, and those interactions is what keeps us involved, man. And I think we're not as intrigued with some of these people if they're not in some of these factions, right? Like I was not all in on Damian Priest until the Judgment Day really got going. So I just
that part.
and it was because of the faction that helped him. Dominic Mysterio is a product of the faction, right? Like, we don't believe in Dominic if it wasn't for these factions.
Correct.
But let's start the conversation, man. I'm intrigued to know. We talked about this a little bit last night, but I'm intrigued to know what are your top 3 factions. Here's how we're gonna do this. Let's say one and let's discuss, and then go around the circle and until we get to number 1. Start us off, Coach. Who is your number 3
going
faction?
with D-Generation X.
Why 3?
DX. Oh, because
yeah, why 3?
Obviously, you have one of the better. You have Mr. WrestleMania. Obviously, the Clique. The remnants of the Clique, how it formed, and how it fell off. But getting them with China, but you said 2 guys that a tag team. Think about it, Road Dogg. Where would Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, with Mr. Ass or whatever they was called, where would those 2 guys be? Without the rub from these 2, right. They made impact, man. They changed the game. Let's just say that faction saved WWE. And along, sure. Not just Steve Austin on the singles run. Yes, thank God for Stone Cold, but you also needed a faction to kind of answer the NWO on the other side. But yes, all the things that they did, the annex, what was allowed in the 90s, what we talked about at school, Griff, what we look forward to on Monday nights. If our parents let us watch that, think about it. We had it on in our house, Brent. They didn't even know. You know what I'm saying? No.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot of DX stuff
right.
that they could care less. We definitely, I guess, that TV, PG, or wherever 14 didn't matter to us. So at that point, but no. But overall, you got to think about it, man. What that group was all about, what started, what it was based on, giving people the looks, and then Triple H coming out of the slums from what happened, with the curtain call deal in New York. It was a great way for him to bounce his career back too. So, and then Shawn,
Are you saying? I gotta ask, are you saying Shawn Michaels, Triple H, China, or are you saying?
I was gonna ask.
I'm saying them all. I'm saying Shawn, Triple H, China. The original, which that's what I'm saying. Bringing Billy and Road Dogg on eventually. Later.
Later, gotcha. Okay.
And then obviously, and then Shawn Walt, then you got our boy Shawn, Shawn Walt. Right.
Boo that man. I am not a Sean Waltman fan. Not because of the person, but because I feel that he has leached onto every great faction that has been in WWE. Every great faction that has been in wrestling, he has latched onto NWO.
Separate topic.
He's latched onto an NWO, and then in the DX in WWE.
And
both factions he has leached onto.
2 Hall of Fame rings by those factions.
Just by hanging with some people. He has done nothing. Let's be honest. This man has won no world championships. This man has done nothing. Let's be honest. Let's stop playing like this man has been good. He's terrible on the mic. He's awful. I don't like that man. I'm sorry. I don't like that man, but I understand why you got DX in this position. Griff, you got DX on your list?
Actually, I don't have DX on my list. And I knew one of you guys, if not both, was going to have DX, so I went a different route. And for my number 3, you kind of alluded to this earlier, Jackie. My number 3, which is underrated, was the Corporation. And my biggest reason, you kind of nailed it on the head. That's why I was laughing, because when you look at Test, you look at the Big Boss Man, you look at Ken Shamrock, you look at Triple H and China, and you look at The Rock. Those are the type of faction. The Rock was already put over anyway, but look how their careers went to higher heights just in that faction, being around Shane, being around Vince, The Rock even being turned on by the corporation going face. And once that happened, look how he blew up real quick. You know what? It doesn't matter. And him and Foley, Rocket Sock connection. So Corporation was one of my favorite factions back in the Attitude Era. Just hearing that No Chance in Hell theme come out when they all walked out together, like nobody could mess with them. You know, just like every night it was Stone Cold against the Corporation. You know, to Stone Cold said, "Bumpy, you know, I got to find somebody else." And even though we gonna rock and roll, you know, we gonna go against that. But that faction in itself, having Vince coming out there with his feud with Austin and The Rock out here talking his smack and Triple H, and you know that really translates Triple H to go his separate way when he cut that promo with JR, and that was ball game. You know what I'm saying? So Corporation was my number 3.
Nice.
I got you. I was a fan of the Corporation simply when they started to morph with the corporate ministry, right? When they started to do that, I was like, all right, I'm kind of in on this one. I kind of like what
they didn't get my attention. They didn't get my attention until that part of the story hit either.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It took a second. Test and Albert, was it Test and Albert? Mm-hmm. Test and Bossman. I'm sorry, Test and Bossman. No. They just worked the star power to push it, right? They worked that star power to push it when you had the Undertaker.
And then you had Edge and Gangrel at that point. You know, put it over.
Yeah.
That put that side
and Ron Simmons and Bradshaw too was part of that.
That's right.
And look what happened to them. Went to the APA direction. Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
I forgot about
that. Yeah. The acolytes. That's right. That's how that whole protection. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Crazy.
That's right. That's right. My number 3 is gonna bring us a little bit more up to date. And I gotta find a way to defend this the right way. But my number 3 is actually the Authority. I was into the Authority. Maybe I was just into Steph, but I was into the Authority.
That part.
And just their ability, like the whole thing with Daniel Bryan, like you're not an A player, you're a B player. That I was like, absolutely, like now this man has to climb that ladder, right, to get to that situation, right? I just thought the way they set it up was really, really good. I don't think Roman benefited as much as he could have from it because we just weren't into Roman at the time. But I thought Seth, obviously, gangbusters coming out of that, right? Like the whole Randy Orton situation, and then that RKO at WrestleMania. You all know the number because I don't. But in Arizona, I want to say, but just that faction itself, to me, it was an interesting time. Wrestling itself was kind of boring, but I thought that section of wrestling was really, really good.
Nice, yeah.
Number 2s, fellas. Number 2s. Coach, what you got?
2, the NWO. It don't take a rocket science to figure out the impact they had on culture. They changed wrestling. Griff and I have a running joke, outside in our own separate conversations when it's time to snap on somebody, or we always say bash at the beach, 96. whenever it's time for us to show our ass on somebody, we gonna say we going heel Hogan. And he said, what you need to do, Mean Gene, is tell these people to shut up if they want to hear what I got to say. So I actually reflected on some of their videos, obviously preparing for this segment, and I didn't realize how out of control it got for no reason, how bad the storytelling got, how bad WCW. I think it killed. I think had they wrote them correctly, I think you think about it, WCW might not have closed that soon or still might be functioning today. Who never knows? The wrestling guys might have said something different. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that there are a lot of stories that they should have told properly the right way to too many members. I actually read some stuff, like all the problems. I actually dug up what after Hall and Nash and Hogan, what they should have done correctly is, I think that would have been if they would have stayed at 8 people and just kept it there with mixture the same shenanigans. I'm saying 8 to 10. I'm just throwing out a number, but obviously not as much money as the shit show that they had. But maybe 8 to, if they want to go that route, 8 to 10 people, call it a day. You know what I'm saying? But yeah,
Everybody was in
right.
the NWO, dog. Like
Yeah.
everybody.
Right, Brian Five is a strong. We got
yeah.
you're right. Brian Five is a strong number, but how the way they were writing back then, if they're more aggressive, then yeah, I would say okay, no more than whatever this amount, 8 to 10. But yeah, that's everybody's. That should be on everybody's list, if not. But you guys know what NWO did to the game, so for sure.
You brought up an interesting point that if they wrote them better, if they wrote the NWO better, who knows where WCW would have been. Let's be honest, WCW was doing fairly well, right, in the middle of the Monday Night Wars. Like they were doing really well, and they were setting themselves up for what I believe to be success, right? They had the power plant where they were training new people to come into WCW.
The original
right?
The original Performance Center.
They had that's what I'm saying. So they had the setup. It was just the people at the top were about me, and like that's a whole other discussion for a whole other time. Like we can jump all the way into that at another time. But I just find that interesting that they were set up for success, and it's just like they shot themselves in the foot. Griff, what you got at number 2?
Evolution.
Good one.
Evolution. Triple H, Flair, Batista, and the Legend Killer, the Viper, Apex Predator, whatever nickname you want to give him. Randy Orton. Evolution during that 2003, 2004, that was my early college days. And that was, to me, that was like the NWO 2.0. I will always call it back in the day, except for, they stuck with the original four. But, Batista, was having difficulty with his single career, being with Devon back in 2002, and Randy Orton just knew him coming along. I remember when that group first meshed, it was kind of like, what is this? Where are they going with this? And to see it excel, Orton go on to his Intercontinental reign and also be the youngest world champion ever, losing it a month later back to Triple H. And then Batista going on his own the following year, becoming world champion, becoming more dominant, and as we see, a movie star and one of the greatest movie stars that come out of WWE, along with The Rock and John Cena, and got his own, Marvel franchise, man. Evolution was always something special, just going to the Raw shows back in the day, even some of the house shows. When you heard that music that hit, you just knew, like, okay, somebody forget their tail whip tonight. Like, it's on and popping. Like, when you heard that, Evolution is a mist, you thought everybody was singing the Uso song, but everybody was singing that too, man. When you seen that come out and Orton doing this and Batista going hyping nuts and Flair just sitting there all cool and Triple H is like, you're like, okay, this isn't the original Horseman. This is a whole different breed of the Horseman, man. Like, yeah, it was great to embrace that, but they were, not just what they did for each other, man, but how they just come out and made an impact on the shows as heels, man, and destroying things backstage and coming out dominating. They weren't afraid of nothing. You had Flair being the dirtiest player in the game, giving away matches. It was so much going on with that group and how they stuck together and how they taught Randy and Batista and how they went their separate ways, man, and how Triple H and Ric Flair wasn't selfish. They were really more the mentors to both of them, even when Randy was going through his challenging and dark moments as well, part of Evolution, how Triple H, hearing that story, never giving up on Randy, hey, kid, man, like, if you don't start doing this, you're going to be out this business real quick, man. And the biggest thing I liked about that group and more Triple H is he never gave up on Randy or Batista, no matter what they were going through, because he always saw, and that's when you see Triple H in the position he in now, he saw so much potential superstar in them, and it blossomed.
Absolutely, man. They're another prototype group when it comes to the championships, right? Like Triple H was the heavyweight guy, like Randy was the IC guy, right? And then Flair and Batista had the tag titles, right? They're another prototypical group that holds that gold, right? Absolutely love Evolution and the things that they stood for, and the fact that they just rock suits everywhere.
Yeah,
absolutely, right? The predecessors to the Hurt Business, right? Like they just rock suits everywhere just because, like we gotta look good, right? Going back to the Four Horsemen days, like as you mentioned. So absolutely on the evolution, absolutely. My number 2, gentlemen, I kept going back and forth on this one, and I'm gonna bring up the other group in my honorable mentions, but I have to put the Bloodline on here, man, at number 2.
Okay.
I have to put them on here at number 2. But like peak Bloodline, and I say peak Bloodline, not when it was just Paul and Roman, not when they decided to add the Jay, not when they added Jimmy, but when they added Sammy and they didn't realize that Sammy was in the group. And I say that to say there was like a shift that happened when you knew Sammy was getting ready to come out the group, right? There was, I don't know if like the conversation started changing. Roman started targeting Sammy a little bit, and you're like, they're getting ready to break this stuff up, right? He gentrified the bloodline. Yeah, right. Yeah, at the Starbucks on the corner. But like when they made their entrance, and you saw Roman in the middle, you saw Paul staring at Roman, right? You saw Jimmy and Jay on one side. You saw Solo doing his stoics thing, and you saw like Sammy like bouncing around at the time, right? When they came out like that, you're like, these dudes can't lose. There's nobody that can beat them. I don't care. You can go get 5 cats. There's nobody that can beat them in this situation. And that was just the aura that they gave off just on the entrance. Then they got into the ring and they talked and they brought an actual storyline that was like, pay attention to what we're saying and what we're doing because it matters. We're not wrestling, but what we're saying matters. And just that, man, that boosted it up to number 2 for me. Absolutely phenomenal faction. I want them to extend this, but who knows where we're headed.
Hey, Jackie, before we go to number 1, the Montay, I got to say this too. This is one of my favorite moments of War Games last year. Do y'all recall when the Bloodline made that entrance and that pyro went off? Solo immediately went to the cage and stared at the Brutes, Drew, and KO. It was there like the whole time during the entrance. Didn't flinch, didn't move. He kept looking. Then finally Roman came over. It's like, hey, let's go. Like, it is trending that Solo character. Like, hey, this is the pit bull. This is the Rottweiler. This is the old man picture. Like, hey, this is our tactic we're gonna use to get in y'all mind and intimidate you. And once we let him loose, it's game over. But I just had to add that because that was one of my favorite moments. How he just came look at that cage while Sammy was celebrating. Paul trying to hold on to all the belts. Roman trying to figure out what Uso gonna start the match first. Roman still trying to figure out like, okay, I'm still strategizing. Solo the whole time like,
But like everybody had a role, bro. Everybody had a role, and who's to say that like we're not done? Maybe I don't know. We might be headed back in that direction at some point, but just when it was at its peak, man, and like they didn't care about nobody else. They were. It was all for the bloodline.
When nobody stopping them. When nobody stopping them. I hope they come back for real too. So. Man.
Good TV. Coach, what you got?
My number one is you guys already mentioned them a couple times, but they're the originators of why we have factions today. I gotta go. I actually grew up watching these. Whenever I turned away from WWF, they was always on my screen. Got to throw up the. So and when I obviously doing a history lesson on them and understanding, I knew what they were about as I grew up. Obviously, who Ric Flair and Blanchard and obviously Iron and what they're about. But yeah, you got to think about it. They are the originator of how the faction worked. Then you would the way they brought J.J. Dillon in doing the history lesson there. That was pretty cool on how all of that came about. But I didn't realize that they had so many different what they did. Their first feud that actually sparked controversy obviously was Dusty. So that's why it actually was the origin of the Flair and Dusty feud that lasted so many years. What they did in NWA is because Dusty actually helped Flair out against Nikita Koloff, and Dusty's in there helping, and then at the same time Flair like I didn't ask for your help, but anyway, here's my guys that's gonna whoop your ass too. So that's kind of what started started the Four Horsemen that night, and obviously Iron Anderson, Telly, ring generals. But it really they've had 9 or 10 different iterations of them. They reformed maybe 3 times. And out of that, you got to think about you building up Lex Luger, you building up Barry Windham, Chris Benoit came through there, Brian Pillman. A lot of right. Yeah, I said his name, but it is what it is. But I'm just thinking about the wrestling Pillman. Who else came through there? But yeah, then you had it faded out. But you got to think about the original, the ones that went into the Hall of Fame. Was the best version of them. Barry, Iron, Rick and Telly, of course. But they started it. A lot of the heel tactic stuff, the strategy of why factions are, what they do to generate heat, came from them. So gotta give flowers to the originators, man. Yeah.
You such an old dude with that answer, though. Like that's that's such an old answer. I watched I don't know, I was watching WWE on Sunday, and it just kind of like cycled through a couple episodes and stuff, and the original like War Games popped up with them. And I was like, this is such an old show. But I understand why that's your answer. I get it. Griff, what you got it to?
One. Oh, this is one. Yeah, this is one.
One. Yo, you good?
You good? I'm.
All right.
Jeez.
Well,
man.
One was kind of tough. Going back and forth with the NWO, the original 3 NWO, Hall, Nash, and Hogan, and of course the Bloodline. But I came up with a legit number one. Can I say, if it wasn't for the NWO, this group wouldn't be, and if it wasn't for this group, there won't be a Bloodline. I'm going to go with the Shield.
Okay.
Yeah, well, of course, their first impact was coming through a Survivor Series, unexpected. No one didn't know. Hearing Michael Cole go off once again, but then having that group, when they enter a ring or enter an arena, they're coming through the crowd, which was like unprecedented. You never seen them always coming through, and not just coming down together. Sometimes they would come through different sides of the arena, you know what I'm saying? So if you know anything about pack hunters or animals that pack hunt, like wolves and raptors, they were kind of like the pack hunters, like they attack from the sides and angles. So if you try to run, one will come on this angle, one will come on that angle, and that's what they were, and that's where they got the name Hounds of Justice for that. But then, they first run, having big matches with Cena's and, the Royal Rumble with The Rock, when the lights went out and they helped CM Punk win, but The Rock said, no, we're going to flip this around. Being put over by the Taker and Big Show and Orton just on their first stance, and even the Rose, Goldust and who was that, Cody, at one time before they split. So to see them now where they add Roman as champion, Seth as champion, and Dean or Moxley down in AEW, it all comes from that group and how they build and on the road together. And that was something that was like one of the top factions, of all time, how they stuck together, and they didn't add nothing, nobody else in. They didn't, do whatever. They did different business deals, like, hey, if you help us with this, we'll help you with that. But then, when they went on a tag team run, it was confusing at one point because, like, okay, is it Roman? And the New Day kind of did the same thing too. And I don't know if it's just because of the faction, but just the 3 of them it was. Like, you see Roman and Seth tag champions, then Seth and Dean was tag champions. So it's like, I guess as long as it's in the group, I guess they do exactly. Yeah. So
that's what it
is. But just to come in from NXT and just dominate the main roster within that first year. And I ain't talking about just like your mid-carders or your low-carders or your superstars or main event people, but I'm talking about your Kanes, your Big Shows, your Mark Henrys, your Randy Ortons, the Rocks, and Triple H, and CM Punk, Taker. They were going out. They were one people out of NXT that didn't have to wait to climb the ladder. They came in right off the bat and said, "Okay, we here. Bring us who you got." And they took on the main top guys at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, everything about the Shield. I saw a graphic the other day that showed all of their titles between the three of them, and up to this point. And my God, it's ridiculous the championships that they've won. Like they got to be one of the most dominant factions of all time, right? Like from a championship standpoint, gotta be,
for
right?
sure. It was controversy even them. That's what my point. It was controversy out there saying, are they even a faction? I guess because of by them only being three, but no, there's no doubt about it. I think when you think of everybody that's came through there, they had they had the rocket on their back coming in, and you knew that night when they interrupted that match that some of their promos obviously being mysterious backstage, and obviously who would have thought. I knew Roman had the look eventually he was going to be the face of this company. I saw that then. I mean, yeah, the way they went about it, it took a miracle, the long road to get him there, but we got him there. But yeah, Dean obviously making his own path there. AEW, that's the kind of guy he is. I'm happy to see he's in his own deal over there, AEW, and obviously we can't talk enough about Seth, but yeah, great pick, man, for sure.
Yeah, Dean is doing well, man, and we hope he continues to do well over there. A lot of blood that he's shedding.
Right. How much blood has he lost? How much blood does he lose a year? Goodness gracious.
Jeez, bro.
Man, he's a pad.
Damn, like you gotta hold on to some of that, bro. Like, good Lord. All right, my number one, fellas. I'm always gonna speak highly of this group, man. Always, it's what really got me into wrestling, and you already know what it is, man. The Nation of Domination all day, every day, man. Again, they just had that prototypical way about them. The Rock was that main guy, even if it was the IC title or whatever it was, as he continued to climb, so did the rest of the group. At one point, Farouk and Mark Henry had the titles, the tag titles. D'Lo was the European champion at one point, and they were just firing on all cylinders. And then their feud with DX, man, just the back and forth that they would have, and the racist blackface that DX did. It was fine, okay. It was fine. I say that jokingly. It was fine
at the time.
At the time, yeah, right. Like we could sit here and woke this to death if we wanted to, but it was fine for what it was.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, right. It was hilarious back there, right? But yeah, it just the things that they were able to do, man. And you could see. I'm sorry. I'm forgetting the Godfather was a part of that situation. I'm forgetting him, but yeah, the things that they were able to do. Obviously, seeing black representation and realizing like, hey, they kind of look like me, and I'm kind of into this. So, yeah, man, that's the group that got me into this. So of course I got to go with number one. Exactly.
I just said that in my head, Brian. I just referenced that in my head, Brian. No shit. So, but no. I honestly thought that's funny as hell. But when Owen was in there, they was real hot.
Yo, I loved it. Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And Owen would carry the slammies around, bro. Absolutely.
Hey, they let Owen be himself situation. Too. Owen was comfortable. Yeah. Like Owen was having a great time.
They did.
I think if he can, right? If he can't, yeah. Hey, before he did his Blackheart gimmick and all of that, I think that was his next best, the second best gimmick that he had the most fun with, for sure.
Yo, Owen was good, man. Owen was good on the mic. Let me say this, because we have a lot of Bret Hart on this this podcast. But I don't actually hate Bret Hart. Like, I thought Bret Hart was obviously good in the ring. Bret Hart is one of the best technical wrestlers of all time. Yes. He's just not my guy. Sorry, Spike. It is what it is. But yes, Brian, yes. Owen was that guy. And to me, Owen, I was a fan of Owens, man. And then when he joined, obviously he joins Nation of Domination, so of course I'm going to be more of a fan to that, you know. But yeah, bro, always was an Owens fan. Just not a Brett guy. Sorry, Spike. It is what it is. Honorable mentions, gentlemen. Did you have any honorable mentions?
I did have Nation of Domination on as for one of my my honorable mentions, and I have both iterations of Nexus. Both iterations of Nexus as an honorable mention. Yeah.
Hey man, I blocked that whole era out. I did not think about that.
Because when you talk about, because when you think about when you come back, when you talk about coming in and making an impact, you know, they did what the Shield did. They just did it maybe 3 years earlier, I think. 2 or 3, 4 years earlier, I believe, Griff. So yeah. I mean the way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's a lot.
Should have been written better after the initial attack. Yeah. Should have been written better after the initial attack.
But before CM.
Griff, what you got for honorable mentions?
Man, that Nexus one just took me out right there. I'm gonna go back a little bit in WCW. I got 2 of them. Ravens Flock.
I remember. I wouldn't even. I remember that one. Sorry, go ahead.
Ravens Flock. That was, you know, with Raven and everyone coming out of ECW, that was the time when you start to see some of the extreme tables and barbed wiring starting to come into play in both WCW and WWE, all because of Raven and the guys that was part of his flock. And it was kind of like one of the weird things, but at the same time, looking back on it, they was always interfering in matches, and that's when Billy Kidman pretty much got his start too, coming out of that flock as well too, like shooting star press and doing crazy moves. Like, you know, that was a time where you seen the old school wrestling, like the chops, the body slams, the suplexes, the DDTs. Now we starting to see the shooting star press or the 360s out the rings, the two cool Scorpios. You start to see all this new stuff now coming in from that. So I had the Flock, and then I had the ECW and WCW alliance when WWE bought WCW, and ECW and WCW combined and formed the alliance.
With like Stone Cold at the helm?
Before Stone Cold. Before Stone Cold.
Like the initial
alliance. When Shane got WCW and then Stephanie and Heyman got ECW, that merger. Now when Stone Cold went, that alliance, but that beginning alliance. The one he was stunning everybody in that Raw before he went over. The alliance.
Yeah. Gotcha. That's right. When he came out and everybody was fighting. That's right. Okay.
Bad honorable mentions.
Okay. My honorable mention. I had one that I don't think we were going to think about. When the women's evolution first got started and they brought in the different groups and they put those groups together. I think Paige had a group with Mandy and Sonya. Right. Charlotte had a group with Becky, and I'm forgetting someone.
Charlotte, Becky, and who was with it? Paige.
Nah, Paige was with Sonya and because they were Absolution. Paige was with Sonya and Mandy Rose.
Not yet. Absolution came after. It was Tamina, Sasha, and Naomi. Paige, Charlotte, and Becky, because Charlotte and Paige beefed it. Then it was the Bellas.
That's right.
And it was the Bellas and Alicia Fox.
Wasn't it Pretty Bad? I forgot. What was this? The name of their team?
Team Bad is what I'm speaking of. Team Bad is what I'm speaking of. So Tamina, Sasha, and Naomi.
Ooh.
And I think, and the reason I'm giving them the honorable mention, they didn't do as much as they probably could have. Like, obviously, we were just getting started in that situation. But like, if you think about like that faction now coming back and like doing something now, like think about, all right, here we go with the fantasy booking again. Here we go. Let's bring them all in. Let's bring everybody back, and let's put Bianca and Jade on one side. Let's put Sasha and Naomi on the other side, and you can't tell me that that's not a 5-star situation, right? Like, just from a microphone conversation, right? Like, we're talking cash shit. If we're gonna put some women against each other, I'm cool with this. Like, let's do this, right? Like, but just like that faction itself, you could see the beginnings of like this is gonna be a really good heel team. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, I wanted that to be more. I still want that to be more, but that's the one that I was thinking of. I was going back and forth with them in the bloodline, but they just didn't do enough, right? I knew what I wanted as far as like my top 3, but they just didn't do enough for me to put them into this conversation. So
good.
Man, factions are taking over this situation in WWE, and hopefully it only gets better. Judgment Day is on fire right now. Imperium finding their footing. Alpha Academy with the addition of Maxine, who we're all rooting for. The Bloodline will figure it out at some point, maybe or maybe not. What are our predictions? Let's get some faction predictions going. Yeah, I like that. Let's get some faction predictions going.
The Judgment Day gets stronger going into the War Games. I still believe that, as I said last week, JD gets his rite of passage at Fastlane at some point. They're going around recruiting another member. I think that member has been in their face the whole time. So, I think JD comes on board, but so that's the one I see. What you think, Griff? I mean, when I'm thinking about Judgment Day, can't put my finger on the other ones. So right now, because Bloodline is still with Roman out, it's too questionable.
Sure.
The biggest X Factor faction right now is going to be Lashley and the Street Profits. For me, it's just a matter of, like we alluded to earlier, when they're going to make that big heel turn on someone we care about or someone we see. You know what I'm saying? When is that going to happen, and who's it going to be? Could be KO Sammy, could be Jay. Another name that we ain't talked about today too that's very pivotal is AJ Styles and OC. That's what that can play into, But with Bloodline, I really see the Bloodline forming back again real soon. But here's a twist to it though. It's not going to be with Jimmy or Jay. It's probably going to be with a new Anoa'i family member. And I'm just thinking out loud. This could be a storyline that Roman is back home training this new member, and when he comes back, this new member is going to be the one that's going to help him win that crown jewel that we ain't expected. You know what I'm saying? So that's
like that thought.
My thing. He's sitting at home, and while we at home, we think he icing wounds and stuff, but technically it could be a storyline saying that he back home grooming this next person, and then this could be a storyline where that could cause friction between this new person and Solo. Like, hey, I thought I was your bodyguard, your next right hand man, and you back here doing this and leave me hanging. So we don't know, But I think the Bloodline is going to come back, but it's going to be a different twist and a new high peak.
That's still a possibility. Yeah, that's still a possibility because remember Solo and Roman had that brief, it was that awkward exchange there at SummerSlam. So that's something they can still play on. That could happen.
I agree, man. I think my prediction. I think Triple H figures out the lower tier factions like Hit Row, LWO, some of those factions that aren't getting the push. Not necessarily like the push, because everybody can't be pushed at the same time. Let's be honest. But I do think that they get a little bit more spotlight as we continue on because obviously all of them are very, very talented and can do more on the show and to keep us a little bit more entertained. Griff, you brought up the OC. You brought up AJ Styles. My question: do we think that Mia Yim could be a threat to?
Yes.
Right. Just thinking. just thinking about threats, like could Mia be a threat?
Absolutely. It's funny you mentioned her because she has a hot theme track too that I was contemplating on my Griff hits earlier too. But yeah, and I don't know if you guys recall, but I think when we first started doing the show, I kind of alluded to and mentioned how her and Rhea put on a good work here at a house show here a year ago back here in Saginaw. And and I was like, wait a minute, like, hey, she can get Rhea a month. That'd be a good match between them. They're already great friends outside, but I seen the chemistry with them, and Mia is very underrated. I just don't understand. You know, I think the last time we really seen her go was when she was in the War Games match last year with Bianca, Alexis, Asuka, when they went against Damage Control and Rhea in the War Games last year. And she can, Mia can go, she can hold it down, but I just think with the array of the women talent that's going forward that they have like and trust and still with, they're rolling with them. But yeah, to answer your question, Jackie, yeah, I think she can become a huge threat and definitely a go-getter for that women's title, whether it's Rhea title or Io's title.
Sure. Yeah, sure. She the image that's sticking out to me is she had a ladder match in NXT, and she went through the ladder, and I was like, this chick's tough. Like this chick can go, and she's good in the ring. They're not using her at all. Like she is literally she is the equivalent of Maxine Dupree right now. Like
she's just a valet to the OC, and they weak too, so they gotta figure it out.
Yeah, that's right, Brian. It was, threw a table off the. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, man. Hopefully the factions continue to entertain us, and gentlemen, as always, this has been an entertaining conversation, man. And I'm appreciative of y'all, and I'm appreciative of just getting on here and just being able to discuss, man. I was listening to somebody talk earlier about their podcast. He was like, I don't care if anybody listens as long as I'm on here talking. And that's how I feel about y'all, man. As long as we come on here and have a good time and talk, who cares who's listening? But we do appreciate everybody that is checking in. So Griff, let the people know where they can find you.
Find me on Griff Instagram, Griff Nation 84, and on X, see Griff 84.
Are you acknowledging that it is
I'm
going
to go ahead and acknowledge X.
That's a grip.
You're not saying the T word, the blasphemous T word.
That's great. Coach Montay,
what's up, everybody? You can find me on IG, Coach Montay 24. Let's continue to support. Get the likes, subscribe, comments, and let's continue to do this thing. Thanks. We appreciate the love so far.
Sure. Yeah, and you can find me, Jackie Miles, on X and Instagram at Jackie Miles 42, man. But again, as we wrap up another episode of this podcast, we just want to thank everybody, our loyal listeners. Appreciate y'all for checking in on us, and your support, of course, means the world to us. So keep the wrestling chatter alive by engaging with us on social media. You just heard where you can find us all. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss a moment of this podcast. This is the ECW Ebony Championship Wrestling Podcast signing off, but never tapping out. We'll see y'all next time.